my name is Ken Prohl, and I'm an architect with Wendell. The new Greenlink Transit Operations and Maintenance Building will have multiple functions that include the service and maintenance of the city's existing 35 bus fleet, as well as a dispatch site for the bus drivers to start and end their shifts. The site will likely consist of two buildings that will be positioned to take advantage of the steep slope traversing the site. The buildings are also being designed with expansion in mind to allow GTA to expand their level of service in the future. While the exterior of the buildings have not been designed yet, the intent is to honor Washington High School in some way, possibly with a memorial or incorporating elements of it in the design. Ultimately, we want to design something that both GTA and the community can be proud to have. The maintenance of the buses will occur in 6 enclosed bays with high-efficiency ventilation and lighting. It is important that we design with the future in mind, and because of this, the facility will be designed to maintain diesel, gasoline, compressed natural gas, and battery electric buses. The service building will act as both a refueling station for the bus fleet, as well as nightly washing of the buses. The bus wash will use a large percentage of recycled water to be in alignment with our sustainable design efforts. The proposed community room will truly be a multi-purpose space that can be utilized by both the city and the new Washington Heights community for meetings or events. This space will have design elements that tie back to the historic high school that once occupied this site and will be located near the edge of the site so that it is easily accessible by the community.
The National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, better known as NEPA, is our nation's basic charter for protection of the environment. NEPA is required when there is a significant federal action or a federal decision being considered that would, if implemented, have an impact on the natural and physical environment, as well as the relationship of the people within that environment. Actions can include projects, grants, policy, permits, or guidance. Any of these has the potential to trigger the need for a NEPA review. The objectives of NEPA are that it requires agency and public participation in the planning process. It also requires disclosure about the actions, the alternatives, the environmental effects, and the mitigation proposed. It requires environmental impacts to be considered during the planning and decision-making process. Through the NEPA process, it's to look at all reasonable alternatives, including no action, clearly differentiate between these alternatives being studied, analyze the impacts of the alternatives on the environment as well as the individuals living in that environment, evaluate the cumulative, connected, and indirect actions as well as their impacts, and share those findings with the public.
Some of the ideas for the proposed park adjacent to the neighborhood would include walking trails, covered pavilions, youth playing fields, potential gardens, flower gardens, areas to sit and relax, as well as active areas for kids to play.
The community of New Washington Heights has a deep history, starting with the development of the neighborhood after World War II to creating the Happy Hearts Park in 1949, to the opening of Washington High School in 1961 and its subsequent closing 9 short years later in 1970. The Happy Hearts Park was the first Black public park in South Carolina and has been recognized by the City of Greenville, the State of South Carolina, and the United States Congress for its work. Washington High School was the last standing all-Black school in Greenville County. It was demolished in 2015. As Wilbur Walker, the principal from Washington High School, once wrote, "Happy Hearts Park is more than the acreage in this neighborhood, far more than the spirit of its most dedicated leaders and supporters. It is the spark that initiated recreational opportunities for Black citizens in Greenville County. Its spirit permeated the whole community. It is this spirit and history that we should celebrate and commemorate New Washington Heights, Happy Hearts Park, and Washington High School."
Greenlink operates 3 separate transportation services, which include fixed route service, paratransit service, and trolley service. First, fixed route service is the name used for bus routes that pick up passengers at designated bus stops. Second, Greenville Area Paratransit, which we refer to using the acronym GAP, provides reservation-based trips for individuals who are unable to access fixed route bus stops independently because of a disability. And third, the Downtown Trolley Network serves the central business district of downtown Greenville and is funded with hospitality taxes. Fixed route service makes up the majority of Greenlink's ridership. It's where the bulk of operating costs are spent, and it requires the largest fleet. So for the sake of this presentation, we'll spend our time talking about how fixed route service and Greenlink's fixed route fleet will be impacted by this project. Greenlink currently operates 12 fixed routes. 10 of these pulse in and out of the downtown transit center located on McBee Avenue once an hour. 11 of the 12 bus routes have one bus running every hour, which means the bus will pass any given bus stop just once every 60 minutes. Weekday service begins at 5:30 a.m. The last trip for customers departs at 10:30 p.m. and service concludes at 11:30 p.m. on weeknights. Saturday service begins at 8:30 a.m. and the last customer departure is scheduled at 5:30 p.m. with service concluding at 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays. To operate fixed route service, Greenlink has a fixed route fleet of 15 diesel buses, 4 electric buses, and 4 gasoline buses. But there are plans to grow Greenlink's service. The Transit Development Plan outlines service improvements, which include increasing Saturday's hours to mirror the weekday service schedule with operating hours from 5:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., increasing the frequency of service along some routes from 60-minute service to 30-minute service. This is accomplished by adding another bus to the route, implementing 12 hours of service on Sundays, adding up to 19 new bus routes, and expanding paratransit services to complement the new schedules and reach the new geographic areas. As you can imagine, Greenlink's fixed route fleet will need to expand in order to be able to serve these new schedules, frequencies, and routes. However, Greenlink's existing maintenance facility is landlocked and is unable to accommodate any fleet expansion. The existing site is configured to only be able to perform maintenance on 2 buses at any time. Parking for both buses and employees is limited, and the site cannot house any more electric bus charging equipment or other alternative fuel sources. So in order for Greenlink to be able to provide better service to the Greenville County community, Greenlink needs more buses, and Greenlink needs a place equipped to maintain and store those buses. The Greenville Transit Authority is committed to growing its fleet in a sustainable way. On February 25, 2021, the Greenville Transit Authority passed a resolution which updated its mission, vision, values, and goals to include the following goal: to develop an environmentally friendly fleet of electric and low-emission vehicles for future operations by placing a moratorium on heavy-duty diesel vehicles after the new maintenance facility is complete, and to purchase sustainably fueled replacement and expansion vehicles thereafter, unless sustainable alternatives are not available or do not meet the demands of GTA's service area. GTA will purchase specific fuel sources, battery electric or compressed natural gas vehicles, if the funding is specifically available for that option. Otherwise, GTA will purchase vehicles of fuel sources that meet demands of the needed replacement or expansion. With a new goal to purchase electric or natural gas vehicles, here's a brief overview of the differences between those fuel types. Compared to diesel buses, natural gas buses can cost approximately $50,000 more. Electric buses can cost $375,000 more than a diesel bus. There are cost savings for these fuel types. Primarily, these savings are recouped because the agency would no longer have to buy diesel fuel. Based on a tool called A-Fleet, which stands for the Alternative Fuel Life Cycle Environmental and Economic Transportation Tool, Greenlink could expect to recoup the extra $50,000 investment of natural gas vehicles after 3.32 years of fuel savings. Greenlink would essentially be paid back the additional $375,000 investment in an electric bus after 20.25 years of fuel savings. Both natural gas and electric vehicles see a significant reduction in annual greenhouse gas emissions compared to diesel, and both fuel sources nearly eliminate all petroleum use. The benefits of electric buses include a significant reduction in air pollution with zero emissions and an extremely quiet engine. However, existing electric models cannot hold a battery charge long enough for Greenlink to operate one bus during the entire service day. Currently, an electric bus that operates in the morning has to be swapped out in the afternoon. This means it takes 2 electric buses to run the same level of service that one diesel bus can operate, making it a very expensive replacement. The benefits of natural gas buses include a quieter engine compared to diesel, and the bus can operate an entire service day, making it a more comparable fuel source to diesel and a less expensive vehicle replacement. While natural gas does reduce some air pollutants, such as significantly reducing nitrogen oxide and hydrocarbons, it's not as effective at eliminating all categories of air pollutants as electric buses do. Regardless of which alternative fuel source is selected for each purchase, Greenlink and the Greenville Transit Authority are committed to moving away from diesel and embracing alternative fuels. In order to make the sustainability goal a reality, a new maintenance facility is needed to accommodate the charging and fueling infrastructure that these vehicle types require. Greenlink's existing maintenance facility cannot accommodate the equipment needed to expand to a green fleet.